If I lost everything tomorrow, no database, no brand, no subscribers, no income, and I had to rebuild my real estate business from absolute zero this year, here's exactly what I would do. Day by day, week by week, broken into your first 30, 60, and 90 days. No fluff, no recycled advice, just the exact sequence I would personally follow to get my first deals as fast as humanly possible. So let's get into it. The very first thing I want you to understand is a mindset shift. And I know you've heard mindset 1,000 times and it feels like filler. But what I'm talking about is not motivational fluff. It's a strategic reality that will determine whether you win or lose in your first year. Here's the problem. Most real estate brokers are still teaching the old playbook. And the old playbook goes like this: work extremely hard, grind every hour, chase every lead, cold call strangers for 8 hours a day until something sticks. That approach produces low visibility, constant rejection, and an exhausting cycle of always chasing the next deal. It's a hamster wheel. And most new agents burn out on it within 6 months. But here's the thing: you are in the best time in history to be a new real estate agent. And I mean that sincerely. Because of artificial intelligence and the right content strategy, you can flip the equation. Instead of you chasing clients, you can have clients coming directly to you consistently for free every single week, even if you've never closed a single deal in your life. That is the new playbook. Work smart, build visibility, create leverage, and by the end of this video, you are going to have a clear step-by-step plan to do exactly that. All right? Let's talk about day one. The very first thing you do when you start from zero is you tap into what I call your sphere first. And this is the S in a framework I use called START. And we're going to break down every letter. Here's a truth that most agents don't want to hear. Your first deal is already in your phone. It's sitting there right now. The problem is that most new agents become what I call secret agents. They get their license, they're excited privately, but they're almost embarrassed to tell people they got into real estate. They think, I don't want to be that person posting on Facebook. And so they stay quiet and they stay broke. I want you to hear this clearly. Being a secret agent is the single biggest killer of momentum in your first 90 days. Let me back this up with my own story. In my first year in real estate, 7 of my first deals came from past coworkers. 7. I was an engineer before this. I wasn't in sales. I didn't have a big network of real estate investors or buyers. But I had people I'd worked alongside for years who trusted me. And when I let them know I was in real estate and told them why, they sent me business. It was that simple. Now, most new agents make the announcement the wrong way. They'll post on Facebook something like, hey everyone, so excited to share that I just got my real estate license. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell, please reach out. And then they wonder why nobody responds. Here's why that doesn't work. When you make a generic post like that, the public makes an assumption, and it's not a flattering one. They assume you got into real estate because something else didn't work out. That real estate was your fallback, and they unconsciously lower their trust in you. So instead of a generic announcement, you are going to tell your story and control the narrative. This is a completely different approach. When I wrote my story about why I got into real estate, it changed everything. I talked about how I'd bought my first house, how the agents were lazy and not leveraging modern technology, how I saw a gap in the market, and how I wanted to bring a modern entrepreneurial approach to real estate because nobody in my area was doing it. That story gave people a reason to root for me. It gave them a reason to connect with me, even as a brand new agent. So here is your very first exercise in your first week. Write your story, be honest, be specific. Why did you get into real estate? What gap did you see? What are you bringing to the table that's different? Post that on social media, and then separately send a personal text message to every person in your contact list. Your goal is at least 100 people with a relaxed, genuine announcement. Not a sales pitch, just a human message letting them know you made this move and why. And if you don't hear back from someone, follow up. Just check in like a normal person. The goal is simply to make sure that when someone in your circle is ready to buy or sell, or when they know someone who is, you are the very first name that comes to mind. I hear new agents say all the time, I don't really have a sphere. That is not true. If you have a cell phone with contacts in it, you have a sphere. If you have a Facebook account, you have a sphere. Use it. And one more thing here before we move on. I hear agents say they're nervous to let friends and family know they're in real estate. Let me flip this around for you. You are nervous to work with the people who trust you most and who would never publicly destroy your reputation if things went sideways. Yet at the same time, you are actively going out and cold prospecting strangers who have zero reason to trust you, zero relationship with you, and who absolutely will leave you a 1-star Google review if you underperform. Does that make any sense? Your sphere is your safest, warmest, easiest source of business. Treat it that way. All right, let's move into the T and Start 2-track prospecting. Here's the concept. As a new agent, you need 2 types of prospecting running simultaneously: active prospecting and passive prospecting. And understanding the difference and which to prioritize first is critical. Active prospecting pays your bills right now. This is anything that gets you in front of real people having real estate conversations in real time. Think cold calling, door knocking, open houses, networking events. These activities can get you a deal this month if you do them consistently, not eventually. This month. My personal favorite for new agents is cold calling FSBOs and expired listings. Here's why. These are not random cold calls to strangers. These are people who have already raised their hand and said one of 2 things. Either I'm going to try to sell my home myself, which statistically the vast majority of FSBOs fail to do, or I tried to sell my home with an agent and it didn't work and I still need help. These people are already motivated. You don't have to convince them they want to sell. Your job is simply to convince them you're the right person to help them do it. If you commit to calling FSBOs and expired every single week, even just 2 to 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, and you do it with the right script and the right objection handlers, you will get deals consistently. I've seen it happen over and over again with agents who had zero experience and zero confidence when they started. Now, passive prospecting is what builds your long-term leverage. This is content, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, social media. The difference is that passive prospecting takes time to compound. You're not going to post your first YouTube video and wake up to 10 new leads tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. But if you consistently create valuable content over 6 to 12 months, you will build an audience that sends you inbound clients on autopilot while you sleep. That is genuine leverage. My top recommendation for passive prospecting is YouTube. I know it sounds intimidating. Long-form video feels scary. But here's the truth. YouTube content has the longest shelf life of any platform. A video you post today can bring you leads 2 years from now. And when you follow the right process, which I can walk you through, it is far more straightforward than most people think. It is absolutely not as complicated as Instagram or TikTok, and the lead quality is significantly higher. So the 2-track system is simple: active prospecting, FSBOs, and expireds to pay the bills now. Passive prospecting, YouTube, to build leverage over time. Do both simultaneously and your pipeline becomes almost impossible to dry up. Now let's talk about the A in Start artificial intelligence before the hustle. You are living in the most level playing field in the history of real estate. And I want you to really let that sink in. In the past, the agents who succeeded fastest were the ones who had a coach, a mentor, a team around them who gave them the scripts, the strategies, the answers. That knowledge was behind a paywall. It cost money, it took time to acquire, and if you were a new agent without resources, you were at a massive disadvantage. AI has eliminated that disadvantage entirely. Need a cold calling script for FSBOs? Ask AI. Need objection handlers for expireds? Ask AI. Don't know what YouTube video topics to cover for your market? Ask AI. Don't know how to write a follow-up sequence for your leads? Ask AI. Don't know how to write your narrative post for social media? Ask AI. Every single barrier that used to stop new agents, the lack of scripts, the lack of knowledge, the lack of strategy, AI removes it immediately for free. This means the playing field is now genuinely level. A brand new agent with no budget, no coaching, and no experience has access to the exact same strategic insight as a veteran agent who has been coached for years. That is an extraordinary shift. So what does this mean for you practically? It means the only variable left is execution. AI has removed every excuse. Now it purely comes down to whether or not you are willing to do the work. And that leads us directly into the next letter, The R in start, reps over results. This is where most new agents fail. And I want to give you the mental framework to make sure it doesn't happen to you. Here's what typically happens. A new agent says, okay, I'm going to do YouTube and I'm going to call FSBOs. Great. They put out their first video, it gets 42 views. They make their first round of cold calls. They get hung up on 9 times in a row. And then the judgment starts. YouTube doesn't work. Cold calling doesn't work. This strategy is a scam. And they quit. Do you know why they failed? Not because the strategy was wrong, because they gave up before they had enough data. Here's a concept I want you to tattoo on your brain. Volume negates luck. Let me give you a concrete example. If you were willing to cold call for 8 hours a day using a triple line dialer, which lets you make roughly 100 calls per hour, you'd be making 800 calls a day. In any real estate market in the country, at that volume, it is statistically impossible for you not to connect with motivated sellers. Impossible. The math doesn't allow it. But most people aren't willing to do that volume. And even at a more moderate pace, if you commit to consistent reps over a long enough time horizon, the result is inevitable. Same with YouTube. If you publish consistent, well-optimized videos every single week for 12 months straight, it is virtually impossible for your channel not to grow and generate inbound leads. The platform rewards consistency. The algorithm rewards volume. So does every other lead generation channel. Here's the mindset I want you to walk away with. Stop judging the strategy based on early results and start judging yourself based on your commitment to the volume. Results come after volume, not before. I learned this from working directly with Tony Robbins. He said it simply: repetition is the mother of mastery. That applies to cold calling. It applies to YouTube. It applies to door knocking. It applies to everything. Do enough reps, give it enough time, not 12 days, not 12 weeks, 12 months, and the outcome becomes a certainty. And finally, let's talk about the T in start: timing and calendar management. This is where so many agents quietly sabotage themselves without even realizing it. Here's the reality of your job as a real estate agent. You only have 3 categories of tasks. Number 1, get clients. Number 2, service clients. Number 3, nurture clients. That's it. That's the entire job. Here's what's obvious but gets ignored. If you have no clients, you have nothing to service and nothing to nurture. So when you are starting from zero, the only thing that should dominate your calendar is activities that get you clients. Everything else is secondary. Most new agents fail at calendar management because they wake up every morning with a to-do list of 14 things, none of them prioritized, none of them time blocked, and they spend the entire day picking at random tasks, spinning their wheels, and ending the day exhausted with nothing meaningful accomplished. Here's how to fix that. The night before each workday, look at your task list. Identify the 2 or 3 most important things you need to accomplish. Assign each task a specific block of time, and then protect those blocks like they are client appointments, because they are. Let me give you a practical example of what this looks like with our 2-track system: cold calling, FSBOs, and expireds. 3 hours per session, 3 days per week. YouTube content creation and filming, 3 hours per session, 2 days per week. That accounts for 15 hours of deep, focused, revenue-generating work per week. The rest of your week absorbs showings, follow-ups, admin, CMAs, whatever else comes up. You don't need to work 16-hour days. You don't need to grind yourself into the ground. What you need is intentional, consistent action in the right activities every single week without exception. Let me give you the full picture one more time. The START framework. SE, sphere first. Your first deals are in your phone. Tell your story. Control the narrative. Text your contacts. Follow up. T, 2-track prospecting, FSBOs, and expireds for income now. YouTube for leverage over time. A, artificial intelligence before the hustle. Use AI to remove every excuse and level the playing field. R, reps over results. Volume negates luck. Commit to 12 months, not 12 days. T, timing. Block your calendar. Protect your prospecting hours. Do the high-value work first. This is the system. It is not complicated. Simple does not mean easy. but it is absolutely achievable. I have watched hundreds of agents just like you follow this exact process and break six figures in their first year. Not because they were naturally gifted, because they committed to the process and refused to quit. If you want all of my training for free, the scripts, the YouTube strategy, the calendar templates, everything, click the link in the description. I'll walk you through partnering with me personally, and I'll put you on the fast track surrounded by people who will hold you accountable, give you the mentorship and coaching you need, and make sure you are the next agent to hit six figures in year one. And if you want to dive deeper into building a lead generation strategy using AI right now for free, check out the next video.